Hi guys, I wanted to come on here and expand on a post that I just posted on Instagram. I was scrolling through my own Instagram and I was actually looking through something, and then on Instagram now they have like what you posted a year ago. And what I posted a year ago kind of like triggered me to like go down and look at more of my posts. And I just had this overwhelming, sorry, there's like a helicopter. I had this overwhelming need to talk about it. And okay, sorry, that was obnoxiously loud. Sometimes there are like helicopters that go over my apartment complex at night. It's daytime, but at night with their little like light and stuff, I'm like, who are they looking for? But yeah. It triggered me to go down my posts, and then it just triggered a lot of feelings, because when you look back at like a year ago, you tap into those feelings of what was going on a year ago. And for me, what was going on a year ago, I was at the tail end of a relationship that was killing me, that was sucking the life out of me. And I don't know, I wanted to come on here and talk about, I think I'm going to title this something like I was abused and that's okay. That doesn't mean that it's okay that your abuser abused you. It doesn't mean it gives them a pass. It means that this happened to me and it's okay. I'm okay. And you can make good out of anything. So I don't know, I just want to expand on that. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I do a lot of like longer captions, like really long captions. Sometimes I have to like add on to the caption in the comment because you can't do as much words in the caption as I want to say. As you guys know, like I can talk forever, so I do that in a shorter version on Instagram more often than not. Sometimes, of course, they're like cute, like quirky captions, like funny captions, but a lot of the time they are very long and very thought out, and I consider them very entertaining and very insightful. So if you don't follow me there, it's Michaela Renee with 3 E's. It'll probably be down in the description. If it's not, it's MICHAELARENAEEE. So many A's and E's. But okay, so I wanted to expand on that. What I said in the post basically was like, I was abused as a child, and then I cracked my heart open to these relationships, and then all of my relationships up to this person were great. So I had this naivety that everyone was great, right? Everyone had good intentions. Everyone had intentions like me. And that led me to choose a person that was like my initial abuser that abused me again. So whenever I was a child, this has taken me a long time to come to terms with. And also I'm not ready to talk about everything that happened when I was a kid. I don't know when I will be. I'm sure that there will be a point in my life where I tell everything, but that's not the point I am right now. I'm not ready for multiple reasons. But especially to like put that on the internet. I'm barely ready to admit it to myself, let alone however many people would see this video, right? Or have the capability to see this video. So can this go down more? Okay, no. I was like, I feel like I'm kind of high up. But I also like giggle when I'm uncomfortable. People point that out, not even on my videos, but on like dates and stuff. When I'm uncomfortable, I giggle. So there we go, there was an uncomfortable giggle. So talking about my feelings, if I'm like, I'm not making light of this at all, but at the same time, it's been a long time and I've had a long time to heal from it. Am I 100% healed? No. Will we ever be? Who knows? But nature sounds are just going crazy today. I love that. But yeah, if I giggle, it's not making light of the situation. It's because I'm uncomfortable. Some people pick. Some people like you know, that's just my thing. So, when I was a kid, I remember a lot of things, okay? I don't even know if I want to say who it is. I'm sure you could put the pieces together because the way I've talked about him, but when I was little, I was abused. I'm not gonna say how, I'm not gonna say what happened, I'm not gonna go into depth. Maybe one day I will, but today is not that day. I was abused repeatedly, and this is hard to like tiptoe around. Whenever I started getting older, I was abused probably my entire life, okay, by the same person and someone very close to me, someone in my immediate family. And I grew up wondering why I hated this person, because I really blocked out what had happened. And I really don't remember a lot from my childhood. I would say before age 15, I don't really remember anything. I'm sure if I tried to remember things, I could probably pick out less than 10 memories from ages below 15. And that means there is extreme trauma there. And I've learned that pretty recently on my journey of being alone and discovering all of my stuff within me, right? So I mean, with this, there's a lot of backstory. There's a lot, but what really triggered this last night, all of this is kind of like lined up. So let me just, I don't know. This is going to be long. This is going to be, I don't know. But what triggered this was last night, I ate an entire pizza. This sounds like it's so off topic, but it's not. Last night, I ate an entire pizza. And afterwards, I felt so awful about myself. And it triggered something in me where I was in the shower and I cried for 45 minutes because of this. And I just had this realization that I do this to myself because of what happened to me when I was a baby, what happened when I was a child, like all of the abuse that I endured. And I realized that I eat like this as self-protection, because in my mind, what I realized last night was that in my mind, whenever I eat, it makes me ugly and disgusting, and no one will look at me, no one will touch me, no one will pay me any attention because I'm fat and ugly, right? And I don't think that about other people, I think that about myself, because that is what I'm using food for subconsciously. Now it's kind of moved from my subconscious into my conscious, so now I'm able to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Last night was a huge trigger for that, and I eat like that a lot. I eat like that a lot. And I've started to work out and actually care about my body within this last month. And I've just had a lot of realizations in that field, I guess you could say. But yeah, I realized that's why I eat like I do. And now I'm kind of telling myself, like, if I eat like that, that's giving my abuser power, right? That's giving my abuser what they wanted, which is power over me. And they have power over me still years and years and years later. I haven't talked to them in however many years. Probably haven't talked to them in about a year. But they still have power over me, right? And so now whenever I go to eat, I am going to tell myself that if you eat like this and you're tearing yourself apart, if you're tearing yourself apart and you're doing this to yourself, you're giving your abuser power, right? And I don't want that. I don't want to give him power. I don't want to tear myself down as self-protection because I'm scared someone is going to do something to me that I don't want, right? As a child, I felt very powerless, so I've brought that into adulthood. And okay, so I mean, we can kind of go back. I was abused as a child. I I mean, just thinking about this is such a powerful story. And I am so powerful. And to say that, like, you are so powerful, right? Like, humans are so powerful to be able to have endured all of this horrendous stuff and still be alive, still be smiling, still be happy, still be living is incredible. Humans are incredible. I am incredible, right? And so I was thinking about how I was last night. I was having that little breakthrough. I was gonna say breakdown, but honestly breakthrough last night. And I was like, we are changing this around. Like, I just had this mental shift of like, we are changing this around. He doesn't get to have power over me anymore. And so last night I went to bed like crying about that, but in a good way, in a powerful, empowered way, in a way of I have control over this now because I have knowledge, and knowledge is power. And so this morning that 1 year ago thing popped up, and I looked at that and I started like putting the pieces together. So if you guys don't know, like, I was in a super abusive relationship. A lot of stuff. I have a video on that. Honestly, I don't really like that video because I was so numb in it that it's like the emotion doesn't shine through. I feel like I could have made a more powerful story, but I was just so numb when I made it that I was just so numb and almost in denial that that had happened to me, and also still in contact with that person. It was such a weird situation, but I have a video on that. It's called My Relationship with a Narcissist or something like that. If you want to watch that and get the entire story, it's pretty long, but yes, I was in that relationship. My mom just sent me a TikTok. I was in that relationship and we broke up, or I left him May 2020. So at this point, it feels like it's being wrapped up. It feels like, ooh, sorry. Like I kicked you like you're a person. No. It's getting wrapped up. It is May 2020, April 2021, almost May 2021. So it's been about a year, which is, oh my God. I remember making a vow to myself, you will be single for a year because you have to figure this shit out. Why did you stay with this person? And I have a video on that as well. If you're interested in this topic of like the abusive relationship, I really recommend watching all of my vlogs, all of my videos from this period of time last year. So around May, June, July 2020. It was when I was going really, really, really in depth with like my issues and stuff, and I was vlogging all the time. So if you're interested in that, all those videos are still up. They're still here. You can watch them on your own time. Those videos are so powerful, and they were the raw, real emotions of what was going on at the time. A lot of numbness, a lot of giggling it off. That is just how I deal with things, but it's nonetheless powerful. But yeah, I was like putting the pieces together today, and I was like, okay, this happened to me as a child, and putting myself in such a powerful light, putting myself in like, I am so powerful. I remember as a child screaming. Some people, which is completely fine, which is completely great, but just looking back at myself, some people don't talk about their abuse. Some people don't stand up. Some people don't get angry at their abuser. Some people don't, like, stuff like that. And I know it's all internalized. Mine was externalized and internalized. So I remember screaming at my abuser when I had the power to, when people were around. I remember telling him I hated him. I remember telling him he was disgusting. I remember telling him all these things and having all of this internalized anger, but not knowing where it came from because I didn't remember the traumatic events because I was in the situation, right? Like when you're living with someone, you're so close to the situation, or you see this person every day, or you live with them, or like whatever it is. it's hard to see outside of that. So, and no one really validated the fact that I was being abused. No one really listened. So I didn't really understand that I was being abused, but I understood that I was angry at him. And I remember asking myself, why do you hate this person so much? Why do you hate this person so much? And being so hard on myself, because I'm not like that. I'm not a human that holds on to things like that without reason. And I knew that about myself. So I went on a discovery and I needed to figure out why I hated him, because it wasn't unwarranted. Because I never feel anything that is unwarranted. I would never hold hatred in my heart, and I know this of myself. I would never hold hatred in my heart for something that was unwarranted, right? Or if something completely awful didn't happen. And keep in mind, like, at this point, I didn't remember anything. I had not uncovered any memories. And recently I've done a lot of research and learned a lot of things about how memory can resurface as you get older and how memory works and all of that. And it's just insane. Like, you can not remember something for so long, and then something triggers something when you're 21 or when you're 45, and you relive it all over again, and you're like, no, this didn't happen. Like, you almost don't believe your memories because you haven't remembered it for so long, right? And that's kind of what happened to me. I remembered nothing from my childhood again. Like, I remember this person being rude to me. I remember this person being mean to me. I remember feeling uncomfortable around this person. I remember all of this stuff, but I don't remember anything happening. It all felt unwarranted from my end. He was saying it was unwarranted. Everyone around me was saying it was unwarranted, and they didn't understand, and I didn't understand either. But yeah, whenever this relationship and my abuser really go hand in hand, because it's a very similar situation over and over and over. So I'm just gonna keep tying the two to each other. But I'm also feeling very vague. So if this doesn't make sense, I'm so sorry, but this is the best. I'm doing the best I can to explain this. But I remember after I broke up with this person, the relationship that I was in, I still have videos with him on my channel. I still have like photos in the carousel on my Instagram. They're not like an initial feed photo, but they're in the carousel of him, because I need that as a reminder almost. I don't know. I still have them up, so I'm sure you can figure out who he is. That's not the point of this though. I don't care if people know who he is. I think maybe it's also good, because maybe if he has girlfriends and they can see all of the stuff that I went through with him, because he's never gonna change, so hopefully maybe that will help someone in the long run. I don't know, but that was like a little tangent. I don't know, but I keep those up, and I realized that today. I don't know, it gives me power. But and not power in like a narcissistic way, power in like empowerment. But so I keep okay, where am I going? Michaela, where are we going? This is so hard to, this is just so difficult. So after I broke up with this person, I dealt with the initial feelings of feeling angry towards him and all of that. And then a couple months later, I got into trauma release exercises. I did a trauma release exercise, and a memory from my child came up that was horrendous. A memory from my childhood that I wish I never saw. I wish I never, I'm getting goosebumps. I wish I never saw. A memory from my childhood that I worked so hard to detach from, that I worked so hard to never remember, came up, and I had so much clarity on why I hated this person. And I mean, even still, like, I have doubt. it's like, it's a memory. Like is it a memory, or is it my imagination, or is it low? But I know it's real. And inside, I really know it's real, because I feel how I felt around him. I know it's real. I don't know. I feel the need to explain for some reason. I feel like when people are abused, they feel the need to justify, or feel the need to explain, or feel the need to whatever, but it happens. You know, like when you're abused and when things happen to you, you feel like people aren't gonna believe you. Like I even felt like that with my ex. Like I felt like I was dramatic. I felt like I made the situation bigger than it was. I felt like I couldn't talk about it because no one would believe me. So imagine that, but also not remembering what happened to you and just having flashbacks, just having dreams, just having all of this stuff. It feels like your memories are lying to you. It feels like it's untrue and that these are just happening for no reason, but it's not happening for no reason if it keeps popping up over and over and over and over and over. If something keeps showing up in your life over and over and over, there's a significance to it, so listen to it, right? But yeah, after I decided to be alone, I started diving deep into the issues that I had with this abuser in my past. And I saw the correlation of, okay, I had this abuser in my past, and it chose me, or it led me to choose a person like him in the future. And it was like I relived the trauma with this boyfriend from the abuser. So it's like I endured this as a child, and later in life I chose a partner that did the exact same thing to me, so I relived the experience and I was able to recover memories from that. And that is just so powerful. And I've done all of this on my own. Like I don't go to therapy. Maybe I should, but I don't go to therapy. I really like to work through things on my own. I don't know if that's, again, like self-preservation. I don't know if that is like, I don't know what that is. I maybe should go to therapy. I've been to counseling. I've talked to a couple people about it, but I've never gotten into depth about it. I've just been like, I hate this person. I don't know why I hate this person. And it was like years ago. I've been to therapy as like a teenager because I hate this person and I didn't know why I hated this person. But for a long time, I didn't even want to talk about this person. I was like, I have all these issues with this person, but I'm not ready to look at it, right? And I remember going to therapy and being like, we can talk about anything but this person, which was the cause of a lot of my issues, was this person. So I was like, therapy wasn't really going to do anything, right? Because I wasn't willing to talk about the actual thing. But I was also a child. I was also, you know, young, and my brain just wasn't ready. But now apparently the universe said I'm ready. I uncovered these memories. I actually handled them pretty well, I would say. I don't know what else to say about this, but I just wanted to come on here and talk about this and let you know, like, if you're going through something like this, it's valid. Your memories are most likely real. Your flashbacks are most likely real. And you don't owe anyone an explanation on how you deal with anything. But I really encourage you to dig deep into them, right? Because that's where you find your power. That's where you find empowerment. And I don't know. If you've been through anything like this, I love you. Because I get it. And imagine your story. That's what I tell myself. Imagine your story. Imagine yourself up on a stage 10 years from now, telling your story, telling how shitty your life was, telling all of the awful things that have happened to you, spilling the beans on everything. Imagine doing that and being empowered from that and creating success from that. And talking about how you came from 0 to 100, talking about how you went from having no money to being a millionaire. To think about how all the odds were stacked up against you, but you did it anyways. I think about that, and that's what gets me through life. That's what gives me motivation. Because one day I'm going to be standing on a stage. This gives me chills. One day I'm going to be standing on a stage telling this story from an empowered point of view. And I kind of am right now, like standing on a stage, sitting in my house on a stage where anybody can listen to this, right? But I just keep that vision in my mind of like, one day I'm going to do a TED Talk. One day I'm going to do all of these things, and I'm going to use my story for good. And I even am doing that now, use my story for good. And it's going to help people that have been through the same thing, because sadly 1 in 5 people have been through the exact same thing that I have been through. In different ways, of course, but like 1 in 5 women are abused. Which is just a bigger issue, but not treating trauma, because, oh my gosh, I could go really into this. The bigger issue is people keep abusing because they're hurt. Hurt people, okay? So the reason my abuser abused me is probably, this doesn't give him an excuse at all, because what he did was fucking awful. And the ex-boyfriend, what he did was fucking awful, and it doesn't give anyone an excuse, but this is why it's happening, right? It's happening because trauma is not being treated. Mental health is not being taken seriously. And generational trauma is stored in the body. And if this has happened over and over and over and over, you are going to create that cycle over and over and over and over. And I'm the person in my ancestral whatever the fuck that is stopping this cycle, right? So my abuser was abused, and the person that abused him was probably abused, and up and up and up were probably abused, right? And all of these awful things probably happened, so it's just normal to them. And there's also it affects your brain. It affects what you find pleasure in. It affects so many things that you think are normal. A lot of these people are aware that they're hurting someone, but they're not aware of why they're doing it, right? And I think if we as a society become aware of why we do harmful things, that one day it's not going to be like that. One day, hopefully soon, hopefully my grandkids or my great-grandkids or whatever will live in a world where trauma, it's not common to pass down our trauma, right? And we realize it's our job to deal with it. And it's my job to deal with my abuser's trauma. It's my job to deal with the trauma before that, because it's ancestral. It's my job to clear through all of the hurt and all of the pain that my ancestors have been through on both sides of my family, and forgive them. Because if I don't forgive them, how am I ever going to forgive myself for things that I've done, right? And I came here for a reason, and you came here for a reason, and I feel like that is a huge part of my reason to be a cycle breaker, to help other people be cycle breakers as well. But it's our job, even though we didn't do it, and it doesn't feel fair. We store all of the trauma from our ancestors. This went on a totally different, not even different, but just like, I don't know, tangent. But it's our job to work through the trauma. It's our job, because we hold the trauma. For example, I hold the trauma from my mom, and from her mom, and from her mom, and from her mom, and from her mom, right? So it's my job to work through all of those. And on on the other side as well. It's my job to work through all of that. And we hold up to 2,000 years, I think, is what I've like seen and what I believe. Probably even more. Yeah, probably even more years of ancestral trauma, and it's our job to work through that. And I've been working through that my entire life almost. And it's still here, right? Like, it's gonna take time, and it's gonna take courage to work through that, but it's gonna be so amazing when you have children and you don't pass that down to them, or you do pass it down to them a little bit because it's inevitable, but you give them the tools to deal with it from a young age. And that's what I believe in. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach my children, if I have them. I hope I have them. I'm going to teach my children how to deal with their trauma, how to deal with their feelings, how to deal with all of these beautiful things that aren't talked about, how to deal with sexual things, how to deal with all of these taboo topics that society doesn't talk about. I'm going to give my children the tools to deal with it, because I had to figure it out all on my own. And imagine, I learned this stuff from, I would say I got very unclouded. I mean, it's all layers and layers and layers. But I started becoming very unclouded at around 18 because I left my parents' house. I got out of a situation, right? And I got very unclouded at that point. Of course, like, I'm clouded about things now, but that was like a huge awakening for me. I think that was like my initial awakening. That's hard to say. Okay, I'm gonna move on from that because my guides are like, no, well, but that was a big awakening for me. We can just say that. That was a huge, astronomical is the word that I'm hearing. Astronomical awakening for me. And, and now imagine giving that awakening to a child, giving that awakening to a baby from birth, not causing them extra trauma. And I'm not saying that kids shouldn't go through anything. They're going to go through everything, you know. They're going to go through whatever they're meant to go through, whether I give them this information or not. But I would rather give them this information to be able to work through the things that they go through. I just imagine if I was born out the womb and I was given this information of how to deal with certain things, or how to listen to yourself, how to trust your intuition, how to trust your gut, how to heal trauma, how trauma even works, how even if you haven't been through certain things, I'm holding, as women, we hold in our womb trauma from sexual abuse from our ancestors. So if anybody in my ancestry was abused sexually, that is in my womb. That is my job to take care of, because they're not here anymore and they passed that down to me. And they had to go through all of this pain so I could transmute it, right? And my kids, like, I'm gonna pass down, sadly, I'm gonna pass down everything that I'm carrying, right? And it's gonna be their job to undo a little bit, and their kids' job to undo a little bit. And it's just our job to undo what we can. And that doesn't mean be perfect. That means undo the little bit that you can. But yeah, that went on a separate little tangent, not even separate, but just different than I expected this video to go down. But I don't know, I have a lot of knowledge about these things, and I've kept it inside for a long time, but I think it's important to share it. I've always been scared of like sounding woo-woo, but I know so much, and I feel like I need a college degree to know this much, because I feel like people won't listen to me because I don't have that. I don't know. It's a whole thing. It's a whole limiting belief thing, but I know so much about this, and like psychology and trauma and all this stuff, and I don't know, I hope this was helpful. Yeah, I love you guys. I'm gonna get out of here. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on OnlyFans if you want to see more of me. It's onlyfans.com/xmichaelafans, and my Instagram is Michaela Renee with 3 E's. It's most likely down in the description, so is my OnlyFans. But yeah, I love you guys. If you want to DM, my DMs on Instagram are always open. I love you guys. Bye.